The massive ship appeared silently above Earth's atmosphere, its sleek hull reflecting sunlight like a newly minted coin. Admiral Taehyung Kim stared at the holographic display in the United Nations Space Command Center, his face an expressionless mask hiding the tension beneath. "They're hailing us, sir," Lieutenant Ju Park reported, her fingers hovering over the communications panel. "Put them through," Kim ordered. The face that appeared on screen wasn't what any of them expected. Ambassador Dorak looked almost human except for his iridescent skin and eyes with horizontal pupils. "Greetings, people of Earth. The Galactic Hegemony welcomes you to the interstellar community. We offer technological advancement and protection in exchange for your participation in our collective." When the transmission ended, President Hyesu Lee turned to Admiral Kim. "They want an answer within a standard week." "Then we better start investigating what we're really dealing with," Kim replied. The emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council convened 3 hours later. Representatives from every major nation sat around the circular table, faces drawn with concern. Admiral Kim stood at the front, pointing to images of the alien vessel. "The ship measures approximately 2 kilometers in length. Our sensors detect technology far beyond our current capabilities. They could have attacked without warning, but they chose to talk. That gives us room to negotiate." Defense Minister Woo Jin-seo leaned forward. "Or time to prepare. I don't trust them." "Neither do I," said Kim. "But we need to learn more before making any decisions." President Lee nodded. "We'll form a special task force. Admiral Kim, you will lead first contact operations. Minister Seo, mobilize our defenses quietly. Let's not appear hostile, but we won't be caught unprepared." The alien ship remained in high orbit, maintaining its position above the Pacific Ocean. Smaller vessels occasionally departed the mothership, but none approached Earth directly. 2 days later, a formal invitation arrived. The Galactic Hegemony requested Earth to send representatives to their ship for initial diplomatic discussions. "It's obviously a risk," Admiral Kim told the Security Council, "but also our best chance to gather information." The Council selected a team of 5. Admiral Kim, 2 diplomats, a xenobiologist, and a linguistic expert. They would travel to the alien vessel in one of Earth's best shuttles, retrofitted with additional sensors and emergency protocols. On the morning of the meeting, Lieutenant Park approached Admiral Kim as he prepared to board the shuttle. "Sir, I've been analyzing their communications. Something doesn't feel right." Kim paused. "Explain." "The translation software shows unusual patterns. They use words like participation and collective, when formal diplomatic language would typically use alliance or cooperation. It suggests a different relationship than equal partners." Kim nodded slowly. "Good catch, Lieutenant. Keep analyzing while we're gone. If you find anything else, send it directly to my secure channel." The journey to the alien vessel took 40 minutes. As they approached, the team fell silent, awed by the scale and beauty of the ship. Its surface featured intricate designs that seemed to shimmer and move slightly, as if alive. A docking bay opened, revealing a cavernous space large enough to hold dozens of Earth shuttles. They landed where indicated by flashing lights. "Remember," Kim told the team, "observe everything. We need to understand who we're dealing with." The air inside the alien ship was breathable, but carried a faint scent of cinnamon and ozone. Ambassador Dorak greeted them personally, accompanied by 4 other aliens of different species. "Welcome to the Harmony," Dorak said, spreading his arms. "The flagship of our regional expansion fleet." Kim noted the word expansion with concern. They were led to a large meeting room where refreshments waited. The xenobiologist discreetly tested the food and drink, finding them safe for human consumption. "The Galactic Hegemony spans over 3,000 star systems," Dorak explained. "We bring order and advancement to all worlds under our protection. Your planet has reached the technological threshold that qualifies for membership." "And what does membership entail exactly?" asked Kim. Dorak smiled. You provide resources we require and contribute to our defense forces. In return, we uplift your civilization with technology centuries beyond your current capabilities. Medical advances that will extend your lifespans threefold. Energy solutions that will end your climate crisis. Faster than light travel to explore nearby stars. It sounds generous, said one of the diplomats. What percentage of resources would we need to provide? A standard rate of 40% of rare earth elements, 30% of biological diversity samples, and 20% of your water reserves, Dorek replied casually, plus a military contribution of approximately 10 million soldiers annually for our expansion efforts. Kim kept his face neutral despite his alarm. Earth's population couldn't sustain such numbers. And if we decline? He asked. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Dorek's smile remained, but his horizontal pupils narrowed slightly. Every civilization eventually recognizes the benefits of joining the hegemony. Some simply require more time to understand their place in the galactic order. The meeting continued for 3 hours. The aliens showed impressive technological displays and videos of seemingly prosperous worlds under hegemony control. Yet Kim noticed that all the footage looked carefully staged. As they prepared to leave, Dorek presented them with a small device. A gift, he said, a basic medical scanner. Consider it a sample of what awaits Earth within our collective. Back on Earth, scientists began studying the device, while Lieutenant Park continued analyzing the aliens' communications. Kim met privately with President Lee. They're not allies, Kim said firmly. They're colonizers. Lee nodded solemnly. I suspected as much. Their demands are impossible. We need more information, Kim replied. Let's request another week to consider their offer. Meanwhile, we must learn everything we can about this hegemony. I suspect they're not as benevolent as they claim. As night fell over Earth, the alien ship continued its silent watch from above. In homes and offices around the world, people looked up at the sky, wondering what this new chapter in human history would bring. Unknown to them, humanity had just encountered its greatest challenge, and the clock was ticking on their response. Dr. Minho Kang reviewed the data again, hoping he'd made a mistake. The secret files retrieved by Earth's covered operatives told a grim story. The hegemony's protection is colonization by another name, he explained to the gathered world leaders. The Tolari were stripped of resources until their planet became uninhabitable. The Nexus were conscripted into labor forces. None of the protected worlds have voting rights in hegemony matters. Captain Jian Choi, who had led the undercover mission to a nearby hegemony world, stood up. We discovered why they want Earth specifically. Our planet's biodiversity is unparalleled. They don't want our minerals or water. They want our genetic material. All of it. Silence fell across the room as the implications sank in. Dr. Kang brought up another image on the main screen. It showed a barren landscape with massive industrial complexes stretching to the horizon. The sky was a sickly yellow. This was once the garden world of Tolari Prime, he said. 5 years after joining the hegemony, it looked like this. Their forests were harvested for rare compounds. Their oceans were drained for mineral content. President Lee leaned forward. And the Tolari people? Captain Choi answered, her voice tight. Relocated to work colonies. Those who resisted were eliminated. The room erupted in angry voices. Defense Minister Seo slammed his fist on the table, calling for immediate military readiness. Others argued for more diplomacy, suggesting the evidence might be misleading. Admiral Kim raised his hand for silence. Captain Choi, tell them about the gene banks. Choi nodded and pulled up another image. This one showed enormous facilities with thousands of glowing containment units. These are hegemony genetic repositories. They collect DNA from every species on every world they conquer. Earth has more unique species than any world they've encountered. To them, we're a biological gold mine. Dr. Kang added, they create new life forms, new weapons, and new medicines from these genetic libraries. It fuels their economy and military. How did you get this information? asked the Chinese representative. The hegemony would not simply allow you to walk into their facilities. Captain Choi exchanged a look with Admiral Kim, who nodded. We had help, she said, from resistance movements on 3 different hegemony worlds. They're fighting back, but barely surviving. When they learned we were considering membership, they risked everything to warn us. She tapped her tablet, and a new face appeared on screen. The alien looked reptilian with feathered crests, but its eyes held an intelligence that needed no translation. This is Locke. He was a scientist on a world called Vexus before the hegemony came. Now he leads what's left of his people in hiding. The alien spoke, his words translated by the software Lieutenant Park had refined. Your world is in grave danger, Locke said. The hegemony does not offer partnership. They offer slow death disguised as progress. Do not believe their promises. I have seen 100 worlds fall. None remain what they once were. After the recording ended, President Lee asked, "What about the technology they offered? Is that real?" "Yes," Dr. Kang admitted, "but it comes with hidden costs. The medical advancements require constant supply of new biological materials, meaning they harvest more intensively. The energy solutions create dependency on hegemony maintenance." Minister Seo stood up. "While you've been investigating, we've been analyzing the gift they gave us, the medical scanner. It contains surveillance technology. It's been transmitting data about us since it arrived." This revelation sent another wave of concern through the room. Admiral Kim cleared his throat. "There's more. Captain Choi's team discovered something else. A weakness." Captain Choi pulled up a new set of diagrams. The hegemony relies on quantum communication relays for their empire to function. Each system has 3 relay points. If disabled, their ships can't coordinate properly. "Are you suggesting we attack?" the British representative asked. "No," Admiral Kim replied. "I'm suggesting we prepare a defense. The hegemony has never been rejected before. We don't know how they'll react when we say no." "When?" President Lee raised an eyebrow. "Yes, Madam President. When? Unless anyone in this room believes we should surrender our planet to become another depleted husk." No one spoke. Dr. Kang pulled up one final image, Earth, blue and green and beautiful. "The hegemony gave us 1 week to decide. That week ends tomorrow. We've learned what we needed to know. Now we must act to protect what's ours." Captain Choi's team had brought back more than just information. They had smuggled samples of hegemony technology, pieces that Earth's scientists had worked day and night to understand. Defense systems, shield generators, and communication jammers were already being replicated in secret facilities around the world. That night, as Earth's leaders finalized their response, Captain Choi met with Admiral Kim in his office. "Do you think we have a chance?" she asked. Kim studied the tactical display, showing the hegemony ship still looming above Earth. "They expect us to say yes. They've never been told no. That gives us one advantage: surprise." He looked up at her. "Did you tell the Council everything?" Choi hesitated. "No, I didn't tell them about the other resistance groups that contacted us. There are dozens of worlds waiting to see what Earth does if we stand against the hegemony. We won't just be fighting for ourselves," Kim finished. "We'll be fighting for all of them too." Outside, the night sky was clear, stars twinkling peacefully. Somewhere up there, Ambassador Dorek was waiting for Earth's surrender. He would be disappointed. As dawn broke over Earth's capitals, military forces moved quietly into position. Scientists made final adjustments to newly built defenses, and President Lee prepared to deliver humanity's answer to the stars. The discovery had been made. The truth was known. Now came the decision that would change Earth's destiny forever. The global debate raged for days. Director Sun Woo-ba of the newly formed Planetary Defense Initiative presented the final analysis. "We've reverse-engineered enough of their technology to give us a fighting chance," she said, "but once we make this decision, there's no going back." In the historic United Nations session that followed, Representatives from every nation on Earth voted unanimously. "We appreciate the Galactic Hegemony's offer," President Lee announced in her transmission. "However, Earth declines membership. Our borders are now closed to hegemony ships and personnel. We declare our solar system sovereign territory." As the message was sent, defense platforms moved into position throughout the solar system. Earth had made its choice. Director Ba stood at the windows of the Planetary Defense Initiative headquarters, watching storm clouds gather over Seoul. The weather matched the mood across Earth: dark, tense, expectant. "Director," her assistant said from the doorway, "the final defense platform has reached position near Saturn. The shield network is ready for activation." Bai nodded without turning. "And the ground-based systems? Online in all 32 locations. The retrofitted satellites are also ready." 6 days had passed since the discovery of the hegemony's true intentions. 6 days of frantic preparation, of governments setting aside decades-old rivalries to face a common threat. Former enemy nations had shared military secrets. Scientists from competing corporations worked side by side. "I never thought I'd see this," Bai murmured. "Complete global unity. Fear is a powerful motivator," replied Admiral Kim, entering the room. "The President is ready to make the announcement. She wants you there." They drove through rain-slicked streets to the United Nations building. People stood under umbrellas outside, watching huge screens that had been set up in public spaces worldwide. Everyone knew something historic was about to happen. Inside, the General Assembly Hall was filled to capacity. President Lee took her place at the podium, her expression solemn but determined. "Citizens of Earth," she began, her voice carried to billions. "1 week ago, a ship from the so-called Galactic Hegemony appeared above our world. They offered us membership in their empire. They promised technology and protection in exchange for our resources." She paused, looking across the gathered representatives. "What they did not tell us was the true cost. Through careful investigation, we have learned that the hegemony strip mines planets. They enslave populations. They take what they want and leave ruin behind. This is not partnership. This is conquest disguised as charity." Murmurs spread through the crowd. On screens around the world, people watched in tense silence. "Today, we must decide our future. Do we surrender to this empire, or do we stand firm as an independent world?" Representatives from each nation stood one by one: Russia, China, the United States, Brazil, Nigeria, India, Australia. One after another, they declared their position: Earth would remain free. The vote was unanimous. As President Lee prepared to transmit Earth's answer to the waiting hegemony ship, Director Ba gave the order to activate Earth's new defenses. Deep in space, massive platforms awakened. On Earth, hidden installations powered up. In orbit, satellites changed configuration. Their true purposes finally revealed. Captain Jian Choi sat at the command station of Earth's first space battleship, the Defiant. Built in secret using reverse-engineered hegemony technology, it wasn't large, but it was powerful. "All systems online," her first officer reported. "Shields at maximum. Weapons ready." Choi nodded. "Take position behind Mars. Wait for my command." Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. Small, fast ships hid in Jupiter's atmosphere. Defense platforms activated near Pluto's orbit. Earth was ready. President Lee stood before the transmission array. Admiral Kim and Director Bai flanked her. The message would go directly to Ambassador Dorac's ship. "Ambassador Dorak," President Lee began, her voice steady. "I speak for all of Earth. We have carefully considered your offer of membership in the Galactic Hegemony." On the screen, Dorak smiled confidently. "We must respectfully decline," Lee continued. "Furthermore, we declare the entire Sol system sovereign territory. No hegemony vessels or personnel may enter without explicit permission. This decision is non-negotiable." Dorak's smile vanished. His horizontal pupils narrowed to slits. President Lee, I don't think you understand what you're doing. No world refuses the hegemony. We just did, Lee replied. Earth will not become another Tolari or Nexus. We know what happened to those worlds. Doric's expression darkened. You've been missiled by rebel propaganda, but it matters little. Perhaps a demonstration of our power will help you reconsider. Any hostile action will be met with force, Lee warned. We are prepared to defend our home. Doric laughed. With what? Your primitive weapons are useless against our technology. Director Boz stepped forward. Not so primitive anymore, Ambassador. We're quick learners. She nodded to a technician who activated a control. Throughout the solar system, energy shields flickered into existence, creating a defensive web around Earth. Doric's eyes widened in shock. How did you? The gift you gave us was educational, Admiral Kim said. As were the databases your ship broadcasts. Your encryption was good, but not good enough. This is your only warning, President Lee said. Leave our system peacefully. The transmission ended abruptly as Dirac cut the connection. In space, the hegemony ship's engines flared to life. Additional vessels began appearing at the edge of the solar system, a show of force. They're coming, Captain Choi reported from the Defiant. Multiple ships, heavy weapon signatures. Director Bai turned to President Lee. It started. There's no going back now. President Lee squared her shoulders. We knew this might happen. Implement Defense Protocol Alpha. Around Earth, military bases went to full alert. Civilians moved to underground shelters. The planet braced for possible attack. For thousands of years, humanity fought itself, President Lee said quietly. Now we finally have a common enemy. Admiral Kim nodded. Better to die free than live as slaves. As night fell over half the world, people looked up at the stars, wondering what the coming hours would bring. Earth had made its decision. Now it had to face the consequences. In space, Captain Choi watched the approaching hegemony fleet on her sensors. She thought of all the worlds that had fallen before them, all the civilizations that had surrendered. Not us, she whispered. Not today. The battle for Earth's independence was about to begin. This is unacceptable. Ambassador Doric's face contorted with rage on the view screen. No planet refuses the hegemony. A demonstration of force may be necessary to help you reconsider. Within hours, a fleet of hegemony warships appeared at the edge of the solar system. Commander Chunho Ryu stood on the bridge of the EDS Defender, Earth's first true battleship, built with adapted alien technology. They're moving toward Mars, sir, his tactical officer reported. Activate the shield network, Ryu ordered. As the hegemony ships approached, they encountered an energy barrier spanning the entire orbit. This is Commander Ryu of Earth Defense Force. Our terms are non-negotiable. Recognize Earth's independence or face consequences that neither of us wants. The hegemony ships held position, their weapon systems hot but not firing. Commander Ryu watched the enemy fleet through the main viewport. 15 hegemony warships hung against the black of space, their hulls gleaming with strange patterns that seemed to shift and pulse. Behind him, the crew of the Defender worked in tense silence, monitoring systems that had been theoretical just days ago. Status report, Ryu said, his voice calm despite the pressure. Shield network holding at 96%, replied Lieutenant Jin Wuxian. All weapons charged and ready. The Mars orbital platforms are online. The Defender was positioned at the front line of Earth's hastily assembled defense. Around them, smaller ships took flanking positions. Beyond Mars, additional defense layers waited. Earth's last line of protection if this outer shield failed. On his personal screen, Ryu watched a secure channel from Earth Command. Director Ba and Admiral Kim were coordinating the entire solar system defense. Commander, Ba's voice came through clearly. Do not engage unless fired upon. We need to show restraint. Understood, Director, Ryu responded. But they're scanning our defenses intensively. I believe they're looking for weak points. The largest hegemony vessel, nearly 5 times the size of the Defender, moved slightly forward. A communication request flashed on Ryu's console. "They want to talk," he informed Earth Command. "Accept the transmission," Admiral Kim ordered. The screen filled with the face of a hegemony military commander. Unlike Dorak, this alien made no attempt to appear friendly. Its face was covered in armored plates, and its 4 eyes glowed with an unnatural light. "I am Grand Marshal Korath of the Hegemony Expansion Fleet," the alien said, its voice deep and grating. "Your defiance is unprecedented and will not be tolerated. Lower your shields and prepare for occupation." Commander Ryu met the alien's gaze without flinching. "I am Commander Chunho Ryu of Earth Defense Force. We have already stated our position. The Sol system is sovereign territory. Your presence here is unwelcome." Korath's upper eyes narrowed. "These shields, this ship, you have stolen hegemony technology. That alone is punishable by planetary sanction. We adapted technology given to us freely by Ambassador Dorak," Ryu countered. "Your gift contained everything we needed to understand your systems." For a moment, Korath seemed surprised. Then anger flashed across its face. "You have 1 Earth hour to reconsider. After that, we will take your world by force. Your primitive adaptations cannot stand against the full might of a hegemony battle fleet." The transmission cut. Ryu turned to his crew. "Battle stations, this isn't a bluff." On Earth, emergency broadcasts urged civilians to remain in shelters. The planet's surface bristled with defense installations, their power systems humming as they drew energy from the new reactors built using hegemony designs. In the command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, President Lee received updates from around the world. "All nations report ready, Madam President," said her aide. "The underwater defenses are fully operational." "And our secret weapon?" Lee asked. Director Ba nodded. "The quantum disruptors are in position. If the hegemony attacks, we can activate them. It should prevent their ships from coordinating." Admiral Kim studied the tactical display showing the standoff at Mars. "They're spreading out. Classic encirclement formation." Back on the Defender, Commander Ryu noticed the same movement. The hegemony ships were taking positions that would allow them to attack the shield from multiple angles. "They'll hit us in 10 minutes, he told his crew. "Before their stated deadline. They're hoping to catch us unprepared." Lieutenant Xian looked up from her console. "Sir, I'm detecting energy buildups in their forward weapons. They're preparing to fire." Ryu opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, prepare for imminent attack. Hold positions and maintain shield integrity." The first hegemony blast struck the Mars defense shield with blinding intensity. The barrier flickered but held. 2 more shots followed quickly, striking different sections. "They're testing for weaknesses," Ryu observed. "Return fire. Targeted strikes only. Show them we can bite back." The Defender's main weapons powered up, their humming filling the bridge. When they fired, brilliant beams of energy streaked across space, striking the Leave hegemony vessel. The alien ship shuddered visibly. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer. "Their forward shields are down by 30%. More hegemony ships joined the attack, firing in coordinated salvos. The Mars shield began to fluctuate dangerously in several sectors. "Shield network at 70% and falling," Lieutenant Xian announced. "We can't sustain this level of attack for long." Ryu made a quick decision. "All ships, execute maneuver Tajik. Now." The Earth vessels broke formation, splitting into 2 groups that curved around in a pattern resembling the ancient Korean symbol. This unexpected movement confused the hegemony targeting systems, and their next barrage largely missed. On Earth, Director Ba watched the battle unfold. "President Lee, we need to use the disruptors. Our shields won't hold much longer." President Lee hesitated only briefly. "Do it." Throughout the solar system, hidden devices activated simultaneously. They emitted specific quantum frequencies that interfered with the hegemony's communication systems. Almost immediately, the coordinated attack faltered. Several alien ships fired at incorrect targets or ceased firing altogether. Commander Ryu seized the opportunity. All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel. The Earth fleet launched a devastating counterattack, focusing their weapons on the largest hegemony ship. Under this concentrated assault, the alien vessel's shields failed completely. A secondary explosion bloomed from its engine section. Ryu opened a channel to all hegemony ships. This is your final warning. We have demonstrated our capability and resolve. Withdraw from our system immediately, or we will destroy your entire fleet. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. The damaged hegemony command ship drifted, emergency lights flashing across its hull. The other ships maintained their positions, weapons still charged but no longer firing. Then, slowly, the hegemony vessels began to move. One by one, they turned away from Mars, their engines glowing as they retreated toward the edge of the solar system. They're withdrawing, Lieutenant Cian confirmed, disbelief in her voice. On the command channel, Admiral Kim's voice was cautious. Stay alert, Commander. This could be a tactical retreat. Yes, sir, Ryu replied, but I think we've made our point. As the hegemony fleet disappeared into the darkness of deep space, a cheer erupted from the Defender's crew. Earth had stood its ground. Against all odds, humanity had faced the greatest power in the galaxy, and won. But Commander Ryu didn't join the celebration. He kept his eyes on the long-range sensors, watching for any sign of the hegemony's return. This was not the end, he knew. Only the beginning of a new chapter in human history. Earth had delivered its ultimatum. Now the hegemony had to decide how to respond. 6 months later, Admiral Kim welcomed representatives from 7 alien worlds to the new lunar embassy. The Independent Worlds Coalition thanks you for joining us, he said to the assembled delegates. Together, we offer an alternative to hegemony rule. On the viewing platform, Dr. Ji-Hyun watched the proceedings with satisfaction. The hegemony never expected resistance. Now look, 17 more worlds are considering joining our coalition. Director Ba nodded. Earth closing its borders opened a new door for the galaxy. Self-determination is spreading faster than they can contain it. In deep space, at the newly established neutral zone boundary, Commander Ryu's ship passed a hegemony vessel. Instead of threats, they exchanged formal recognition signals, a small but significant acknowledgement of the new reality. Earth had not only secured its independence, but had changed the very nature of galactic politics, not through conquest or submission, but by simply saying no and standing firm. The lunar embassy gleamed under Earth's light, its crystal domes and sleek towers, a blend of human architecture and alien technology. Inside the Grand Hall, Admiral Kim stood before the gathered representatives. Behind him, the blue marble of Earth hung in the black sky, a constant reminder of what they fought to protect. 6 months ago, Earth stood alone against the galactic hegemony. Kim said, his voice carrying through the hall. Today, we stand with friends from across the stars. The delegates were a remarkable sight. The tall, feathered Vexians sat beside the crystalline Mori. The amphibious chiral delegates required water tanks, while the gaseous Etheri floated in containment fields that preserved their natural state. Each of your worlds faced the same choice we did, Kim continued. Join the hegemony and lose your freedom, or fight and possibly lose everything. Now there is a third option, the Independent Worlds Coalition. Dr. Yoon watched from above, recording the historic moment. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had helped establish communication protocols with each new species. Now she marveled at how quickly former strangers had become allies. Look at them, she whispered to Director Ba. So different, yet united by a common desire, freedom. Bay nodded, her expression thoughtful. The hegemony built its power on the belief that divided worlds would always surrender. They never planned for unity. On the main floor, a Vexian delegate named Locke rose to speak. His feathered crest flashed vibrant colors as he addressed the gathering. For 300 years, my people hid in the deep caves of our world, believing we were alone in our resistance, he said. When we learned of Earth's defiance, it gave us courage. Now we stand in the light again, ready to reclaim our home. One by one, each delegate shared similar stories. Worlds that had submitted to hegemony rule now found hope in rebellion. Planets that had been fighting alone discovered they were part of something larger. After the formal proceedings, Admiral Kim met with the Coalition's military council. Captain Choi presented the latest intelligence. The hegemony has withdrawn from these 3 sectors, she said, indicating areas on the galactic map. They're consolidating their forces around their core worlds. They're preparing for a larger conflict, Commander Ryu observed. He had returned from his border patrol just in time for the summit. Yes, but they're also facing internal problems, Choi replied. Our sources report growing unrest on at least 20 hegemony worlds. The news of our coalition is spreading. Kim studied the map thoughtfully. We don't seek to destroy the hegemony. We only want freedom for any world that chooses it. Later that evening, as celebration festivities began in the Lunar Embassy's Great Hall, President Lee arrived from Earth. The assembled delegates greeted her with profound respect. The coalition treaty has been ratified by all Earth nations, she announced. We officially stand with you as equals in this new alliance. Music filled the hall, a blend of sounds from 7 worlds creating something entirely new. Species that had once been strangers now shared food, drink, and stories. Dr. Yoon found herself talking with a young Mori scientist named Trill. His crystalline body refracted light in dazzling patterns as he spoke. On my world, we have a saying, Trill told her. The strongest crystal forms under the greatest pressure. Earth was that crystal for the galaxy. We only did what we had to do, Yoon replied modestly. No, Trill insisted, his voice chiming like bells. You did what no one believed possible. You showed that the hegemony could be resisted. That changed everything. Across the room, Director Bai received an urgent message. She quickly found Admiral Kim and pulled him aside. The hegemony has requested a formal diplomatic meeting, she said quietly. Not with Earth alone, but with the entire coalition. Kim's eyebrows rose in surprise. They're acknowledging us as a legitimate power. It appears so, they replied. Their message mentioned establishing boundaries and protocols for coexistence. They're adapting, Kim observed. That's unexpected. Perhaps not, said President Lee, joining their conversation. Even empires must evolve or die. We forced them to choose. The next morning, as the Lunar Embassy's lights dimmed to simulate dawn, Commander Ryu prepared his ship for another patrol along the neutral zone boundary. This time, he carried representatives from each coalition world who would observe Earth's defense systems firsthand. As they passed the orbit of Neptune, sensors detected an approaching vessel. Ryu recognized the signature immediately, a hegemony border patrol. Standard procedure, he told his crew. Maintain course and prepare recognition signals. In the past, such encounters had been tense affairs, with weapons locked and shields raised on both sides. But today, as the hegemony ship came into visual range, something different happened. The alien vessel transmitted its identification first, a small but significant courtesy. Ryu ordered the appropriate response sent. For a moment, the 2 ships faced each other in the emptiness of space, enemies not long ago, now cautious neighbors. Then the hegemony ship dipped slightly, a universal gesture of acknowledgement before continuing on its way. Did they just salute us? Asked Lieutenant Sion in disbelief. I believe they did, Ryu replied with a small smile. Back on Earth, ordinary life had begun to incorporate extraordinary changes. Children learned about alien cultures in school. Scientists adapted hegemony technology to heal environmental damage. The first civilian ships prepared for journeys to nearby coalition worlds. In her laboratory in Seoul, Dr. Yoon studied genetic samples freely shared by coalition species. Unlike the hegemony's practice of taking without permission, This exchange represented something new: cooperation for mutual benefit. "We didn't just win our independence," she told her students. "We created a new paradigm for the galaxy." As night fell over Earth, millions looked up at the stars with different eyes. The universe was larger and more dangerous than they had ever imagined, but also filled with more friends and possibilities. Earth had closed its borders to conquest, and in doing so, had opened them to something far greater. The end.